Hello everyone, in this video I'll be covering the top 100 items in Baldur's Gate 3's Act 1. This is be breaking down the best weapons and armor, as there's quite a few pieces of gear that can define a playthrough right at the start of the game. There's actually some things that you can carry your way all the way through the full game, and I'll be breaking down all of those, starting off with helmets. And the haste helmet here, extremely effective. So at the start of combat, you gain momentum for 3 turns. This is actually one of the easiest items to get. It's in the village at the start of the game. And what this does, momentum gives you 1.5 meters of movement speed for every turn remaining. So at the start of combat, you got an extra boost to your movement speed, so you can get in there and start slashing. This is especially excellent on like a fighter or a barbarian or even a monk. Giving that extra movement speed allows them to move around and get into combat. And another really easy item to get at the start of the game is the Warped Headband of Intellect here, which will set the intelligence score to 17. Now, this is a very useful item for a variety of reasons. There's a few dump stat items that we can get. So basically you can dump your intelligence and use this. This works well if you got like a Eldritch Knight who does use intelligence, but also requires like strength, dexterity, and constitution. So this works great on a character like that. It's also great if you want to multi-class in the wizard, because the wizard, it uses intelligence as its ability modifier. So if you have like a sorcerer who has like 5 levels of the, has 5 levels of sorcerer and then 1 level of the wizard, you can then scribe spells to your scroll book and you'll be able to carry 4 of them for just a single level of the wizard. What's nice about that too is once you get to the end game, this allows you to take minor and major elementals, globe of invulnerability, which none of those require your spell casting, but you're able to prepare 4 of them with this item. So this is something you can use throughout the entire game. Now, another really useful item to get is the Holy Lance Helm. Now, there's a reason I'm including this one here. It's because radiant damage applied with something like the Luminous Armor that you can also get in Act 1, which gives radiating orbs to the target. Radiating orbs gives a -1 to attack rolls. You can stack that up to 10 times for a -10 to attack rolls, meaning you're very unlikely to get hit. So this applies whenever a target misses you with an attack, so you can continually keep up applying your radiating orbs, which is extremely useful. I also do want to highlight the Mask of the Shapeshifter here, which if you get the deluxe version of the game, why this is nice is you can shapeshift into a Gith, get all the Gith boosts and all the extra effects that you get from using like Gith items. So this is extremely effective for many reasons. It's only available to those of deluxe edition, but shapeshift, extremely useful. You can use this throughout the entire game. I like to have this on my hotbar to swap on and off with other items as well. Now, we also have the Diadem of Arcane Synergy. So whenever you inflict a condition, you gain Arcane Synergy for 2 rounds. This stacks really well with like an Oathbreaker Paladin. So Arcane Synergy allows you to add your ability modifier for spell casting onto your weapon attacks. Where this is nice is, like, as I mentioned, the Oathbreaker has their Aura of Hate, which gives them the same effect as this, basically adding charisma modifier to their damage. So you can add it twice with this. And it also counts as applying a condition when you use the Aura of Hate. So free damage, very useful. You can get this at the Gith Yankee Creche. Now, another good item is the Circlet of Blasting, because early game, you don't have a lot of spells and spell slots. So being able to get a Scorching Ray level 2, that's just nice to have for those that are spellcasters. So I wanted to highlight this one here. Now, another good hat is the Cap of Wrath. So during combat, when the wearer starts their turn with 50% health or less, they gain Wrath for 2 turns. Wrath will give you a +1 to your damage, so that's additional 2 damage if you're below 50% health, and that's just nice flat out damage increase. Great on a barbarian who's going to be lower in health at times. Now, another great item is the Grim Skull Helm. This is harder to get, but it is in Act 1. It has Hunter's Mark, an incredible spell to be able to apply, because everyone can benefit from Hunter's Mark. You can't be critically hit, which is, for some people, the only way they can get hit if you have an insane armor class value. So critical hits if the attacker rolls a 20. And you also gain resistance to fire damage. This is one of the only heavy armor. It might be actually the only heavy armor helmet in the game, but it's a worthwhile one to have. Now, the Cap of Curing is great if you have a barbarian or a bard, because it gives them additional health if you use Bardic Inspiration. Other classes don't benefit from this. But another great item is the Shadow of the Menzoberranzan in here. So this gives you the Shrouded in Shadow. Basically what this does is you get a free turn invisible for 2 turns. Invisibility is extremely effective. There's certain points where you need to steal stuff in the game, and having invisibility is really nice. This replenishes per short rest, so that's 3 per long, or 2 per long rest, depending if you got a bard with you. Extremely effective to have, so I had to recommend this. The Shrouded in Shadow is very, very nice to have. So that one is effective on a variety of different builds, because invisibility can benefit anybody. Also, we got the Shade Spell Circlet. Now, where this actually shines is the new Shadow Magic Sorcerer. So when the wearer is obscured in shadow, their spells gain a +1 to spell save DC. So this is extremely effective on the Eyes of the Dark Shadow Sorcerer because they can hide out in their darkness and get the free bonuses to their spell save DC. Another, I guess the last one that we'll be talking about is Wapira's Crown here. So this is great on any healer. So when healing another, the wearer regains 1 to 6 health points. So yeah, put this on your cleric and you'll be laughing. So that's that for helmets. For cloaks, there's only one. It's the Deathstalker Mantle, and you can only get it if you're the Dark Urge, so I'm not going to include it on this list, but it's honestly one of the best items in the game. So yeah, it's worth grabbing. Into armor, there's a lot. So Graceful Cloth is one of the best because this gives you the Cat's Grace, which increases your dexterity score by 2. So you can actually get your dexterity up really high easily. So right here, I have a strength potion active. Dexterity is 20, constitution is 16, and then I have some extra bonus points into my wisdom and charisma. So that's very good. But it also gives you a +1 to dexterity saving throws, increases your jump distance, and as an extra added benefit, it also gives you the Cat's Grace, giving advantage on dexterity checks. Now, if you're trying to steal from someone, that's a dexterity check. If you're lock picking, that's a dexterity check. Very effective to have. So I just want to highlight this one here because I think it's actually one of the best. You can get it from the Brilliant Society, Lady Esther in this Act 1. You do have to go to the Mountain Pass to be able to get it, but extremely effective. Another very effective item is the Adamantine Scale Mail. So I went the medium armor version. You get 2 adamantine items that you can grab. I think the shield and the medium armor are the best. The heavy armor gives you 18 armor class. This one gives you 16, but you can get a dexterity bonus of +2. So that's nice. Puts it up to the same as the heavy armor. And when a melee attacker attacks you, you send them reeling for 2 turns, which minuses their attack rolls, which is nice. And you can't be critically hit with this. So again, nice bonus, and it reduces all incoming damage by 1. This is the best armor in Act 1, easily. So definitely worth grabbing. Now we also got the Armored Uninhibited Kashigo here, which is good if you have a monk, but not great if you have any others, because it requires you to use patient defense, and then you basically get an unarmed attack if anyone misses you. Same thing as a Blade of Benevolence. So if you're a bard, this will give you 4 temporary health points if you inspire someone. Same thing. Nice if you have it. Now, this one's actually good. Blood Guzzler's Garb. So when the enemy damages the wearer, it gains wrath for 1 turn. As I mentioned, that's a +1 to your attack rolls. This can actually work well. Like I have a Blade Singing Wizard here. I have this on them because they get hit sometimes. They actually get a 21 armor class. So they're tied for my highest armor class in Act 1, wearing this with the Blade Song active. So that is really good too in itself. Any heavy armor is going to be decent in the game, early game, because it's just going to give you better survivability. However, the Chain Shirt +2, this is a decent medium armor as well, because this gives you the 15 armor class. If you didn't want to have the, if you didn't have the Adamantine Scale Mail, that's likely going to be the best. It's not one of the best items. I just want to include it there. One of the true best is the Luminous Armor. Now, this is something that you can use throughout the entire game. So whenever you deal radiant damage, you cause a radiant shockwave, which replies radiating orbs. This is extremely effective. Throw this on a cleric, Spirit Guardians, boom, you're applying radiating orbs, giving those -2 attack rolls. I could go on and on about how good this is, but it's seriously one of the best items you can get in Act 1, so go grab it. The Poisoner Robes is okay if you focus around poison damage, but you probably shouldn't. I just want to highlight that briefly. The Spider Silk Armor, however, is great, especially if you got like someone that's going to use light armor. So Blade Singing Wizard, a Shadow Magic Sorcerer. I have it on my Shadow Magic Sorcerer Shadowheart right now because advantage on Constitution saving throw checks. That's what holds concentration on spells. Very useful. 12 armor class, that's all right. And the +1 to spell stealth checks is also all right, but good for survivability and holding your concentration. So that's definitely worth grabbing. Now, the Jolty Vest is also nice. Rare medium armor, take 1 less slashing damage. And if you have lightning charges, you can shock the target if they don't succeed on dexterity saving throw. So that is pretty effective as well. And one of the best light armor or best clothing in the early game is the Protectee Sparks Wall. So +1 to spell save DC and a +1 armor class and saving throws if they have lightning charges, which are very easy to get with certain items that we'll be covering a bit later on. So yeah, that's that for the armor. Again, you can go with the heavy armor version of that. It's also quite nice, but I think the Luminous Armor is probably the best overall in Act 1. Now into gloves, there's a few extremely effective ones, like the Gloves of Dexterity, which will set your dexterity to 18. Again, dump stat items are extremely effective, so you can put this on anyone throughout the game and have them set their dexterity to 8, put those points into something else. You don't have to worry about their dexterity, and they get a +1 to their attack rolls. This is honestly one of the best items in the entire game. You can get this at the Kresh Yelek, and it's one of the first items I always go for. Another Crush item that's extremely useful is the Gloves of the Belligerent Skies. So whenever you deal thunder, lightning, or radiant damage, you can apply 2 turns of reverberation on the target. Reverberation gives a -1 to dexterity, strength, and constitution saving throws for every turn that you have it applied. And once you hit 7 stacks, you can knock the target prone and make them take thunder damage. This pairs well with the Boots of Stormy Clamor, which we'll be getting to, but this is extremely effective, and I highly recommend having this item on a spellcaster if you're going to be focused on lightning, thunder, or radiant damage. Now, this also goes good with the radiating orb gear I also mentioned previously, because you can stack radiating orbs and reverberation on the target. Another really nice item, the Daredevil Gloves. +1 to spell attack rolls, that's great, but you can make your spell attacks become melee attacks. This is great if you use Eldritch Blast often, because you can use it as a melee attack, and that's just extremely effective to have, so +1 spell saves is also great. Now, we also have the Bracers of Defense, +2 to armor class if you're not wearing armor or holding a shield. So this goes great on a Blade Singing Wizard if you're not going to use light armor. What's great about this is that +2 to armor class is effectively like a shield. Now, the Blade Singer also gets a +3 to their armor class and in Act 1, so you can literally get a +5 to armor class without wearing any armor. That's great. And also, I guess if you have the outfit for killing Karlach, you can get a nice boost as well, but I didn't do that. I'm playing as Karlach. We also got the Abyss Beckoners. Now, this is it's a great item if you utilize it, but it's also scary. So the wearer's summoned creatures have resistance to all damage except psychic. So they become resistant to physical, they become resistant to fire, lightning, cold, you name it. But at the start of this creature's turn, it must succeed a wisdom saving throw or be driven mad, meaning your own summons can start attacking you. This is great, but I wouldn't rely on it in an honor mode run for obvious reasons. We also have the Fleet Fingers, which is cool. So once per turn after the wearer dashes or a similar action, they can jump without using a bonus action. You can see where that's useful. It's great on like a rogue. We also got the Gloves of Archery, which is great because it gives you proficiency in bows, and it deals additional 2 damage with your bows. This is available really early on in the game. It's nice to have. Gloves of Baneful Striking. When you attack a target, they get a -1d4 penalty to its saving throws against your next spell. That goes great on like a Hexblade Warlock and a lot of others. Gloves of Cinder and Sizzle, good on a Monk because it gives you additional fire damage and Scorching Ray as an attack, and it gives you 4 beams on that Scorching Ray. We also got the Hail Thorns Gloves. It's good at early game to give yourself an extra spell, but not super useful. Same with this, Gloves of Heroism. When you use your Channel Oath, you get Heroism, which gives you 5 temporary health and cannot be frightened, and a +1 to strength saving throws, only usable really on a Paladin. Gloves of Missile Snaring. This is huge. I like to put this on a spellcaster. You can reduce incoming damage from ranged weapon attacks, so a bow attack by a 1d10 plus dexterity modifier. That's really nice. Gloves of Power. This is great because you can apply Bane on a target, so on hit with a weapon attack, possibly inflict a 1d4 penalty to the target's attack rolls and saving throws. So giving you Bane on weapon attack, extremely effective, and it gives you a +1 to sleight of hand. Advantage on sleight of hand checks from the Gloves of Thievery. That's also good, but the Graceful Cloth also does the same. As I mentioned, the Gloves of Uninhibited Kashigo are very powerful on a throwing build because it adds additional 1d4 to throwing attacks, or if you use improvised weapon attacks. So great on a Throw Zerker, Berserker Barbarian, or the New Giant Barbarian. Another extremely effective item is the Winter's Crutches. So whenever you deal cold damage, you can apply 2 turns of Encrusted with Frost on the target. What's nice about this is you can eventually freeze a target and then they become vulnerable to bludgeoning, force, or thunder damage. So that is quite nice as well. And you can get this at Lady Esther as well early in the game. Now the Sparkle Hands is really cool. So on hit with an unarmed attack, the wearer gains 2 lightning charges. Unarmed attacks also count as throwing attacks. So if you have a throwing character, you can actually build lightning charges and those will apply to your throwing attacks, which is nice. And then you also get advantage on attacking against metal armor targets. So the Sparkle Hands are actually pretty good. It's surprising. Great on a thrower until you get the Gloves on Uninhibited Kashigo. The Hellrider Pride, when you heal another creature, gains resistance against all physical damage types. This is extremely effective because it doesn't count as armor. It's great on a healer because you can basically make it so your entire team takes half damage. Pairs very well with the Amulet of Restoration, so highly recommend this item. And this item here is one that can be used until the late game. The Gloves of the Growling Underdog. When the wearer gets advantage on attack rolls against targets when they're surrounded by 2 enemies or more, which is very often this will happen. So advantage on attack rolls, you roll 2 die and you use a higher result. This is really nice. And the final item is the Wondrous Glove. So you increase your armor class by 1 and you get initial use of Bardic Inspiration. This is great on a bard. This is actually great on everyone. This is the only way you can get a +1 in your armor class. So great for survivability. Into the boots. The best one is the Disintegrating Nightwalkers. Can't be webbed, entangled, or ensnared, and you can't slip on ice or grease. And you get free Misty Step. So basically, you can move on any surfaces without getting messed up by it. and a free Misty Step. This is great on your fighters that are moving around often. The Boots of Aid and Comfort are also nice, so whenever you heal a target, they get 3 additional health points. I have that on my healer at any time, just that extra health is good. It will get replaced later on. Boots of Elemental Momentum, whenever the wearer deals elemental damage type, they gain momentum for 2 turns, so that's an extra 3 meters movement speed, which is nice. The Boots of Genial Striding, whenever the wearer movement speed, basically you don't get affected by difficult terrain, also nice. Boots of Speed gives you click heals, which is great because with this, it's a bonus action. You basically get freedom of movement and you get increased movement speed. Goes great if you have someone with a Spirit Guardians. Now, the Boots of Stormy Clamor. This is actually one of the best items in the game. Whenever the wearer deals in condition and upon a hostile creature, they also inflict 2 turns of reverberation. So applying a condition can actually be threatened. So if you threaten target, 2 targets nearby, that's huge. So you can apply that. Also, if you get the Illithid ability Drain, it'll also apply this 2 turns of reverberation. So boom, that's huge. So you can stack that with the Gloves of the Belligerent Skies. Huge synergy there. Now, the Boots of Striding. So whenever you cast a spell that requires concentration, you get momentum for 1 turn, so an extra 1.5 meters movement speed. The big benefit is when you're concentrating, you can't be knocked prone or moved against your will. Getting knocked prone is one of the most common reasons that you would break your concentration. This is huge. It is a medium armor, so you'd have to be like a Hexblade Warlock to actually get a benefit from it, or multi-class. However, this is really good. The Hoarfrost Boots, you can fall on ice, but we also have better versions of that. Whenever you dash, you get 2 Wrath for 2 turns. That's okay. 2 extra damage is nice, but not to die for. Now, the Vital Conduit Boots here, whenever you cast a spell that requires concentration, you get 8 temporary health. It's great for extra survivability early game. The Water Sparklers, this is great on lightning charge builds, so whenever you stand in water, it becomes electrified. And if you start your turn on it, you get 3 lightning charges, which you can use for damage, which is also good. Swiresy Shoes, jump distance increase 1.5 meters. And this here, the Spring Step boots, whenever you do a dash, you get momentum for 3 turns. So most of the boots are about momentum and movement, which is nice to have. And I honestly think that the best is probably the Boots of Stormy Clamor and the Disintegrating Nightwalkers. Now, we'll get onto weapons at the end. Best amulets. I think this one's one of the best. You can easily get this at a Goblin Camp. Gives you Misty Step. Misty Step is such a useful spell, and it refreshes per short rest. Misty Step's basically a teleport. Put this on your fighter or your barbarian, you'll be laughing. Amulet of the Branding. So Brand the Weak will make the target vulnerable to physical damage types. So this is a bonus action. You can apply the Brand the Weak, and whenever this happens, they take double damage. Now, what's cool is if you got 2 weapons, it actually applies. So if you have like a dual wielding attack, it'll apply to both of those. So that's really good. Amulet of Restoration. This is actually one of the best items that you can get early in the game because it gives you a free level 3 spell with Mass Healing Word. So I have Shadowheart spec'd out as a Shadow Magic Sorcerer, but I have these items on because it boosts up her healing quite a bit. And I honestly think that if you're long resting enough, you don't really need that much healing. And it's more so to apply Bless and the Blade Ward with. So that's nice. Throwing Potion is probably going to be the best healing in this game. Amulet of Selune's Chosen. So you get the Selune's Dream here, which you basically will give yourself the effects of a short rest. So you can, all you touch regains health points, but possibly falls asleep. So that's nice just for the benefit of getting that there. Amulet of Sylvanas, free lesser restoration. That's great if you're going, if you are romancing Astarion, that's really good. Amulet Unworthy, not that great. Resistance slashing damage. It's usable in certain instances if you know when to use it, but nah, it's okay. Now, the Broodmother's Revenge is really good. You get this from Kaga, so this will give you additional 1 to 6 poison damage whenever you get healed. This pairs well again with the Amulet of Restoration because you can apply poison to an attacker, and it also is just, it's good to have that extra 1d6 damage. Envoy's Amulet gives you a +2 to Persuasion. This is extremely effective if you're the face of the party. Highly recommend that. And also the Elemental Augmentation Necklace. Whenever you deal cantrip damage to cold, acid, fire, lightning, or thunder, you add your spellcasting modifier to the damage dealt. Great if you're focusing on cantrips. Otherwise, not going to be the absolute best, but it's nice. So the power of the Pearl of Power Amulet, this gives you Pearlescent Restoration. You can restore up to a level 3 spell slot. That is really nice. So yeah, being able to get a level 3 spell slot back early game, extremely effective. Now, one of the best amulets, the Periapt of Wound Closure. When downed, automatically stabilize at the start of the turn. That is nice because if you get downed, you come back up. However, the potent healing is the best effect here. So whenever you heal, you restore a maximum number of health points. So if you have a heal and it says it's going to do a 5 to 8, you'll get the 8 healing. You'll always receive the maximum amount of healing with this. So that is extremely effective. and great if you're like a barbarian, because you'll take that extra or get that extra healing. Psychic Spark, you get an additional magic missile, which is huge. Magic missile is one of the best spells in the game because it's guaranteed to hit and it can do a lot of damage riders, and also gives you a free magic missile. The Sentient Amulet, this is huge if you're a monk. This is part of a quest that you get to that late game. You can talk to the Sentient Amulet. It gives you Shatter as a spell, which is also nice to have. However, the key restoration is huge. It'll give you +2 to your key points, which is effective, very, very effective. Amulet of Lost Voices, free Speak with the Dead level 3 spell. Yeah, this one's pretty much hard to miss. I would recommend always using this when you want to speak with the dead. There's a lot of cool interaction in the game. Highly recommend it. Fey Life, Tarnish Charm. The only thing that this is useful for is finding out who Auntie Ethel is when you fight her, because this will be on her. If you examine her, you'll see the Fey Life there, and only her has that. Now, the Silver Pendant is extremely effective because Guidance is such a good cantrip. If you don't have someone that has Guidance, this is the way to get it. Switch this on whenever you get into conversation. You'll have that Guidance at will. Really nice. Blast Pendant, this is only useful if you're going with a lightning charge build. Protection from good and evil, it's okay. The Spectator's Eyes, though, this gives you 2 level 3 spells where you have Fear and Wounding Ray. So, I mean, the 2d8 of necrotic damage is nice, and being able to apply Fear to a target. And the Uncovered Mysteries giving you Detect Thoughts is also quite good, too. But I would say the best ones would be the Amulet of Misty Step in the early game, the Periapt of Wound Closure, the one that's going to give you the increased magic missile here, and also the free magic missile casting, and the Pearl of Power Amulet for that free level 3 spell slot. Into rings. One of the best is actually the Ring of Flinging that I got right here. Now, why this is good, it's actually it's a blue rarity in honor mode because that 1d4 of throw damage is massive. Another really good one is the Fetish of Calduran Smooth Hands. So you can get this right as soon as you get to the Grimforge, go over and succeed on the perception tech when you see the people throwing bodies around. And this gives you invisibility for 2 turns. As I mentioned, invisibility is such a good spell to have. Crusher's Ring, +3 movement speed. Grab this in the Goblin Camp. Really good to have for that movement speed boost. Now the Caustic Band, very rare in honor mode. +2 acid damage on all attacks. Great, great item. This is one of the best items that you can grab throughout the game, because a flat out +2 to damage is nice for a ring. Now, this is also a good one. Bracing Band. There's actually a unique interaction with this. So after shoving an enemy, the wearer gets a +1 armor class until their next turn. Now, you can actually get this by using Eldritch Blast with the Repelling Blast. So put this on your Warlock and you'll be laughing. That's just a good bonus to armor class. Now, the Ring of the Absolute Force. So if the wearer has the Brand of the Absolute, they deal additional 1 thunder damage with... you don't actually have to have the Absolute's brand to get the effects of this for some reason. So, yeah. Also gives you Thunder Wave, which is a great spell. Also, the Ring of Arcane Synergy. So whenever you deal damage with a cantrip, you gain Arcane Synergy for 2 turns. This is great, especially if you're going to be using like Booming Blade. So you may as well have this ring on your Wizard or Warlock. The Ring of Elemental Infusion. Whenever you do elemental damage, it infuses your weapon. You do additional 1d4 of it till the next successful attack. That's good too, especially if you're going to be focusing on using cantrips often. Ring of Protection, the best ring in the game, or one of the best. This is funny because this is a very common item in Dungeons and Dragons, like very, very common, but there's only one in the game and it's actually kind of hard to get. I made a video on how to get it because it's easy to mess it up. You have to do things in a specific way with Mole and stealing the Amulet of Sylvanas. So yeah, +1 armor class and saving throws is massive on anybody. Resistance to poison damage is okay. The Smuggler's Ring is also kind of good if you want to go around robbing everyone. +2 to stealth and sleight of hand is great. -1 to your charisma, though. Only equipped it when you're doing stealing. Strange Conduit Ring, as I mentioned, when you're concentrating on spell, the wearer's attacks deal additional 1d4 of psychic damage. And as I mentioned, like Gale right now actually has the benefits of this because we have the Hunter's Mark there. So I guess the concentration just ended. But yeah, Hunter's Mark, reapply the Hunter's Mark. That's a really good item to have just for that extra damage that you're going to get. And also we got the Whispering Promise. So you can get this from Volo. When you heal a creature, it gets a 1d4 bonus to attack rolls and saving throws for 2 turns. Basically bless on heal. Super useful to have. So I recommend putting that on your Cleric. Now we're getting into the ranged weapons, and there's nothing better than the Titan String Bow. This is honestly one of the best items in the game, especially if you like strength potions. So it adds additional damage equal to your strength modifier in your attacks. I don't have to go into detail about how good that is. Extra damage is always welcomed, and you get this from these Zentarum hideouts, so definitely don't miss this one. But there's also some really good bows in the game. Now, Spell Thief's okay. Once per short rest, you gain a level 1 spell slot when you land a critical hit. This is a good one for like a ranger. That's about it. We also got ourselves the hunting long or short bow, so you get advantage against monstrosity type enemies, and actually applies to all of our attacks. So yeah, that is good. I put that on Gale, even though he doesn't have proficiency to use this item. It gives him Hunter's Mark, which is great. It's a good spell just to have. Much in the same realm, I also like the Bow of Awareness, +1 to initiative. Shadowheart doesn't have the proficiency to use it, but she still gets that +1 to her initiative. So always have a bow equipped. Now the Bow of the Banshee on hit, possibly inflict frightened, gain a 1d4 bonus to attack and damage against frightened creatures. What's cool about this is if the target has frightened from another way, having this will actually give you the 1d4 bonus to attack and damage against with any attack. So this is another one that you should have on somebody at all times, because it just gives them flat out more damage. And the Fire Stoker, hand crossbow. Hand crossbows, you can see, I like to buy a lot of them in the early game because they're so useful to have. Bonus action attacks. This gives you additional 1d4 piercing damage against burning targets, which is great to have. And this will give you also advantage against monstrosity type enemies, which are good to have. Giant Breaker can send the target reeling for 2 turns, giving them a minus to their attack rolls. And finally, probably the best one for a heavy crossbow is Herald. Whenever you deal damage with a ranged weapon, it must succeed a charisma saving throw or become baned for 2 turns. So that gives them that 1d4 penalty to attack rolls and saving throws. Very good to have. So that's that for bows. Now we're getting into the most contested item spot, the weapons. There's a lot. There's a lot. I guess the best item probably in the game is Salami or Poo Scraper. Those are the 2 best. This is also camp supplies. Name another weapon that gives you camp supplies. In actual honesty, the Blood of Lathander is probably the best. Gives you the Sunbeam attack. It's great to have a level 6 spell slot in Act 1. And once per long rest, you get down, you regain health, and also it does light in an area, so there's some items that benefit from light, and also can blind targets that are fiends and undead. And it's a +3 weapon. This is one of the best in the game. Blooded Greatsword. If you have less than 50% health, you get additional damage. Good on a Barbarian. That's about it. There's also the ceremonial items here, but the big one here is the Club of the Hill Giant Strength. Now, where this becomes good, it's a light item, so you can dual wield this. And it sets the strength to 19. It used to be 15, but now it's 19. This is super useful. You have to break a stool to get this item. But it's extremely effective for the benefits that it brings, because setting a strength score to 19 without having to invest in strength is extremely effective. Corlin's Grace. This gives a +1 unarmed to attack rolls and damage. You buy this from Auntie Ethel at the very start of the game. And when you're not wearing armor, you get +2 to saving throws. This is probably the best early game item for a monk, so highly recommend that. Everburn Blade, you can only get this on the tutorial. Gives a 1d4 bonus to fire. It's not really that great because it's not a magical weapon, and you can dip any weapon in fire to get that extra fire damage. So, I mean, some people like using this. I think it looks cool, so the style points matter. Doom Hammer. So just beat Doom from Dark Ages. Big fan of Doom. This basically gives it's basically like a bone chill on a weapon, so it makes it so they can't receive healing, and then undead will get disadvantage on attack rolls. Defender's Flail. This is the only weapon that gives you a +1 to your armor class. So this is something that you could put on like a cleric for better survivability. It also reduces all incoming damage by 1. This is good just for defensive characters that don't do a weapon attack. The Creation's Echo. Whenever you do elemental damage type, you become resistant to that for 2 turns. Very synergetic in certain areas. Exterminator's Axe okay for the extra damage against small creatures. Gold Wormling Staff gets additional fire damage on it, which is kind of cool how it looks. So yeah, you get a fiery stick there. Now the Hammerhaft here, whenever the wearer jumps, they do 1d4 of thunder damage in the 3-meter radius. Pair this with the monk, who can do infinite jumps. You got yourself a pretty crazy build. You can actually do quite a bit of damage just by jumping them up and down. Jorgel's Greatsword. This at a glance doesn't look like anything special, you see, but as a +1 weapon enhancement, the big thing being the Colossal Onslaught. So yeah, you get yourself this big extra attack, which can hit in a pretty big area of effect. That is nice. Sorry, Torch. Yeah, it's a good weapon action, so I have to mention it here. It's very effective. So yeah, that's Jorgel's Greatsword. Now, this is cool, the Intransigent Warhammer. You knock a target prone after getting a critical hit or killing a target. That's good, but probably outclassed by a lot of other weapons. This can apply Ruptured. Early game, this is nice. Ruptured gives a 1d4 bonus, or 1d4 damage every time a target moves. Not going to be the best weapon, but it's a good one worth mentioning. The Knife of the Undermountain King. This is probably one of the best items in early Act 1. Reduce the number you need to roll critical hit by 1, so increase critical hit chance by 5%. And when you roll 2 damage or less, re-roll the die, taking the highest result. So just flat out damage increase. And it has the Shadow Blade, which is only on this weapon and Shadow Blade. Nice bonus, they actually fixed Shadow Blade in patch 8. So this gives advantage on attack rolls against lately or heavily obscured targets. Little shadows will give you advantage. So this is extremely effective. And it's a short sword, light, and finesse. So very, very good of a weapon. You should have this on somebody at all times. Monster Slayer Glaive gives additional damage against monstrosities and gives you increased jump distance. That's really good. You fight a lot of monstrosities in the Underdark, so it could be good for there. Morning Frost, probably the best staff in Act 1, and actually one of the best staffs in the game. When dealing cold damage, additional cold point. And whenever you do cold damage with a spell, possibly inflicts chilled. Why chilled is so good? It makes the target vulnerable to cold damage, so they'll take double cold damage, and if you apply water to them, it'll freeze them. Very nice. It also gives you Ray of Frost, so I highly recommend taking the staff. It's great. You have to build it, though. Fowler Alluve, my favorite sword in the game, gives you the Fowler Alluve melody. So basically what this does is whenever you have this item here, you get the singing song, which gives a 1d4 bonus to attack rolls and charisma, wisdom, and intelligence saving throws. However, the shriek, so this gives a 1d4 penalty to all the saving throws to enemies, and they take an additional 1d4 thunder damage. So this can be crazy because you can buff up and like magic missile blaster people with extra thunder damage. Fowler Alluve is great on a cleric. Even if they don't have the proficiency to use it, it's still going to be a good weapon to go with because, yeah, you can give them the extra benefits. It's also a finesse weapon, so it works on any type of rogue. Same as the Laurentian's Wrath. What's cool about the Laurentian's Wrath, other than it being named after a god, is this attack here, Razor Gale. What's cool about Razor Gale is it actually hits as many targets as possible. So if you have like 8 targets in this, it'll hit all 8. Normally with Cleave, it can only hit 3 enemies at a time. This is a really nice weapon just for the extra range that it gets, and the blade looks cool. So yeah, bonus points for style, but that Gale attack, really good to have. We also got ourselves Melf's Staff, which gives you a free acid arrow and additional bonus to your saves DC, so that's good to have too. Rain Dancer, you can get this early in the game. Create Water, nice because it doubles cold and lightning damage, but outside of that, it's useless. Returning Pike, as I mentioned, returns the owner when thrown. Very effective, especially on throwing builds. Ritual Dagger, after a successful attack, get a 1d4 bonus to attack rolls and saving throws until the end of next turn. That's okay. You're going to outclass this pretty easy. The Shattered Flail I need to mention, though, you hit a target, you get 1d6 healing back. This stacks with the Periapt Amulet, so you get 6 health points back every attack. But you go mad if you don't attack a target. I wouldn't recommend using this till you hit level 5 and get the extra attack, because you want to at least hit an attack once. So yeah, that's, I guess, yeah, it doesn't affect their healing, so that's one nice to mention. But this is a decent item to have, but kind of scary. Wouldn't use it on honor mode. The Shining Staver of Skulls, 1d4 of radiant damage, and it's a light weapon, so it glows. That's cool. If you need a weapon that's a source of light, this can be it for you. So that's not a bad one. The additional radiant damage is nice. However, if you throw it, it doesn't get the additional radiant damage. Soulbreaker Greatsword. This is Lae'zel's best sword if you don't use command drop on Kithrak Voss when you first meet him. Additional psychic damage on a Gith. You can also, again, use the... if you want to be crazy, you can go ahead with using the helmet that gives you the ability to turn into a Gith, and then you get all the benefits from it. So that can be nice if you wanted to go a little bit wild with that. You can go Disguise Self and then turn yourself into a Gith. So boom, turn into a Gith. Haha, we're now a Gith. And then we get ourselves that bonus. So boom, yeah, it's not showing right now, but you get that bonus from it. So that can be nice for the benefits that it brings. And this is what Kardak looks like using the big one. So just want to highlight that. It's kind of funny. There's Mama K back. So yeah, this weapon here is great for any Gith. I also like Sorrow. This can be good on like a rogue, because what it does is you get the Sorrowful Lash attack, which gives you basically a free bonus action Sorrowful Lash. So yeah, pulls a creature 3 meters closer to you. Free attack, we'll take it. And this was also, it's implied to be Ketheric Thorm's weapon, which is pretty cool. So yeah. Now the Sickle of Bual, why this is being included here. So whenever you first get this, it has a benefit of giving advantage against attack rolls. If you long rest with it in your inventory, it loses that effect. However, you can put it in a chest every single long rest and take it back, and you'll still have the advantage. Why I'm including it? It does 2d4 of damage. Normally they do a 1d4. So yeah, double the damage. That's pretty good. Short Sword of First Blood gives additional damage on targets that have all their health points. It's okay. Speedy Reply, also nice, gives you the extra 3 meters movement speed on an attack. Staff of Arcane Blessing. This is probably the second best staff other than the Morning Frost. Why this is good, it gives you Mistress Blessing. So Bless gives additional 1d4 to saving throws and weapon attack rolls, and an additional 2d4 to spell attack rolls. No other thing can give you bonuses to spell attack rolls, and a 2d4 is huge. It's a potential +8 to your spell attack rolls. This is really good. Thank you, Mistra. Also, the Susur weapons. The Greatsword's my personal favorite because this silences targets on hit. They all silence target on hit. This is great against going in like onto Ethel or any other spellcasters. The dagger works too. However, you can't throw this. It can only be a weapon attack, so that's good. Just wanted to note that. Now, the Skin Burster will also give you additional 2 turns of Force Conduit, which gives you -2 physical damage that you'll take. And once you have 7 stacks of it, or 5 stacks of this, it'll potentially do 1d4 of force damage to the target. But what's nice about this is it actually works very well if you have a Barbarian. If they're raging, they take half physical damage. This can actually make it so you don't end up getting hurt. So that's worth having. Also, the Baneful, this will basically possibly bane a target. There's also gloves that can do this, but it can only be on an Eldritch Knight or a Warlock as their packed weapon. So just a little point there. Sword of Justice gives you the Tears Protection +2 to your armor class. Can be good early game weapon. However, I want to focus on this weapon. This is a very underrated weapon. Svartalby's Wound Seeker. Additional 1d4 bonus to attack rolls when attacking creatures that have already taken damage. That 1d4 bonus to attack rolls is massive. It's basically a free bless on yourself and any target that's already taken damage, which oftentimes going to be most of them. So this is good on like us. It's a great sword. So if you're not using Dex, you're probably going to have a lower initiative. So yeah, this is good. Someone's probably already taken damage. Very effective. Spell Sparkler. Whenever you deal damage with a spell or cantrip, they gain 2 lightning charges. This is the best of the sparkly weapons. The Trident and the Jolt Shooter aren't as good as this weapon. Just want to highlight it. The Unseen Menace. Where this becomes very useful. This weapon is invisible while equipped. So whenever you do an attack with this, you have advantage all the time because invisible weapons will give you the advantage. So it's also cool because it looks invisible. So yeah, that's nice too. But you lose the property on 2 rounds on a missed attack roll. So yeah, basically you always get advantage, but you lose it for if you miss. Heavy Great Axe, why it's good? It gives you the Gargantuan Cleave, which is another free cleave attack, which is nice, but it can make you off balance, which potentially can knock you over. So that's something to keep in mind. The Visions of the Absolute. This is actually kind of crazy because it can potentially blind targets and deal an additional 2d6 of piercing damage to targets that have multiple pairs of eyes. Why this is good? Spiders have multiple pairs of eyes. The Beholder or Spectator has multiple pairs of eyes. It also has a cool appearance, so I just want to highlight that too. But yeah, it's really good in certain fights. So also the last one we were showing off here is the Witchbreaker, gaining advantage on attack rolls against concentrating creatures. So yeah, there's a lot of really good items in the game. I'll probably cover non-equipment items at some point as well. But one of the other really good items while we're on the top is the Iron Flask. This can spawn a Spectator, and in some fights, it's really nice. So let me know which of these items is your absolute favorite in Baldur's Gate 3's Act 1. And yeah, hit the subscribe button below if you haven't already for more Baldur's Gate 3 content. I hope you have an incredible day, and we'll see you all in the next one.